Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Connor, and you are listening to another episode of Film Talks. This week, very special episode. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this, you'll find that I'm in a completely new apartment, and this is my first full episode in my new apartment. And for this week's episode, we got quite a few things to cover, actually. We got 2 trailers for movies coming out this summer. We have a controversial opinion made by some YouTubers on Andy Serkis's Jungle Book movie, and we have my spoiler-filled What I'm Watching segment. Also, can I just say, for those watching on YouTube, what do you think of the plant? $25 at Bed Bath & Beyond. I think it's a little much for a fake plant. Oh, never mind. I kind of broke the illusion, I guess. It's a real plant. Also, I will say it's a fake plant, right, in a jar, and there are a bunch of rocks in the jar. And when I bought it, I was like holding it upright because I thought they were real rocks, but they're all glued together. So the lady just threw it in the bag, and I was like, ugh. Now I got a bunch of rocks rolling around the bag. I look in the bag. Nope, they're glued. Who would have known? Who would have known? Not me. So, right off the bat, let's get into the first trailer I wanted to discuss, the Reminiscence trailer, which, let me just say, such a hard name to say. I feel like that should be like a knock against a movie if you can't say the name of the movie. Like, maybe it's just me, but I guarantee you there's a bunch of people who don't know how to say Reminiscence. And because there are people who don't know how to say simple words, and this is not a simple word. But it's made by Lisa Joy. She is one of the showrunners of Westworld on HBO alongside Jonathan Nolan. And honestly, straight off the bat, I was like, this looks like a different style, but very Nolan-esque that those two brothers usually pump out in their usual movies. And I think the first telling sign was when the first line in the trailer, they say, "You're going on a journey through memory." And it's so similar to what they say in Inception. Like, they say something about, like, something along the lines of, "You're going on a train, you don't know where it might take you." And it's like the same thing. And I'm like, did she do it on purpose? Is she trying to make people think, "Oh, this is a Nolan movie," even though it's not? I don't know. Or maybe her style is just so similar to the Nolans. I don't know what it is, but I feel like these similarities are just too distinct, too obvious to not point out. But it looks fairly interesting. I feel like it could get a little too packed, like Westworld. Honestly, that's probably, if you watch Westworld on HBO, a big kind of criticism of that show is it's sometimes a little too thinky. It's a little too much. Um, but people still watch it. I still watch. I like it. I don't mind it. So I'm willing to give this a shot. But it's a movie starring Hugh Jackman. He's trying to find a woman. Now, I'm very unsure if this woman is his wife, his girlfriend, a one night stand. They don't really. I have no idea what her relationship to him is. But she's something, and she is becomes lost in some way. I don't know how he lost her, but he lost her. And he has this technology that allows him to go back into his memories somehow. I don't know how he does it, but he puts on a little headpiece. He sits in a bathtub, boom, back into his memories. And it's a science fiction world where I guess the polar ice caps have melted. The half the world is underwater. So obviously there's riots, and the world is in turmoil. And here's Hugh Jackman trying to find some lady, and she's probably. So here's the thing. I have no idea what this movie's about. I've watched it a couple times, and that's why I'm sort of like, I don't know if I'm actually excited for it. I'm kind of excited for it because I like Hugh Jackman. I like Westworld, but I don't even know what it's about. And it's super weird because, like, they kind of seed some doubt in regards to who the lady is, where they're like, "Oh, what if you don't even know who she is? Maybe she's a bad guy." And then she gives, like, side glances and evil looks, and you're like, "Oh, she probably is a bad guy." But then if she is a bad guy, then you just gave away your twist in the movie. And I don't know. The trailer's weird, but go check it out. It's obviously on YouTube. It's got a couple million views. But fun fact, it will be showing both in theaters and HBO Max on August 20th. So really cool. I hadn't heard about this movie, and then boom, I'm getting it August 20th on HBO Max. Can I just say, oh, I love that HBO Max is having these movies both uh, in HBO Max and in theaters at the same time. Because again, I told you in past episodes, I don't really like the theater right now. Being in my home, super great. Um, so that's Reminiscence. Look that one up. Try to spell it. Best of luck. The next trailer is Infinite. A lot simpler of a word. However, another one of those ambiguous. I guess it's not ambiguous, but one of those words. I guess one word titles. I guess that's the thing of the summer. One word titles. But it's a movie starring Mark Wahlberg, and this one I feel like is a lot easier to summarize as far as I can tell according to the trailer. So Mark Wahlberg plays a character who uh, can become reincarnated, but I guess he doesn't know that he's reincarnating, which is essentially what reincarnation is already, that you don't know you've been reincarnated. But he, I guess, has the ability to unlock those memories from his past lifetimes, sort of like the Avatar. Oh crap, I didn't even realize that until just now. It's basically The Last Airbender, but with Mark Wahlberg. And he has another enemy that I guess he's already unlocked the ability to do that. And if Mark Wahlberg does, then they're like, then you'll unlock your true skill. No idea what that is. Maybe he'll become like Neo from The Matrix. But it's semi interesting reincarnation kind of thing. It kind of looks like Fast and the Furious, but with Mark Wahlberg. And I'm not a big fan of those movies, but maybe I'll check it out. Here's the reason why I probably won't: is it's on Paramount Plus. I don't know if it's going to be on anything else or just Paramount Plus. That is like the one streaming service I don't have and probably won't get because I have all the other ones. I'm not going to just pay for Paramount Plus as well. It's pointless. But that one comes out June 10th. So probably when this episode is already out, that movie will be out. So if you've seen it, drop something in the comments. Say what you thought about it. Oh, who knows? It could be bad. It could be decent. It's probably around the bad decent territory from what I can tell. But check it out. So that's the trailer. Those are the two trailers actually I wanted to talk about. And next up, I had this thing. So I like watching this YouTube channel. They're called Corridor Crew. It's a bunch of VFX artists who kind of come together. I don't really know what they do besides YouTube, but I know they do bunch of YouTube videos where they create things using VFX, or they react to VFX in movies and stuff like that. And that sort of thing is interesting because they can give you some insight into how somebody accomplished something. And they usually have guests on. And in this case, they brought somebody on who was working with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian and how they use a game engine to work those big giant screens. If anybody has watched that show, you've probably seen some sort of behind the scenes thing where they don't use blue screen or green screen. They use these giant LED screens on the side of the set, which can alter the perception of the set according to the camera movement. And it's super trippy, but really cool. And I mean, you watch The Mandalorian, you probably wouldn't know what's a fake set and what's real. You'd probably be surprised. But so this guest, he also, I think, it sounded like he also worked on Jon Favreau's Jungle Book movie. And if I don't think I've talked about his Jungle Book movie yet, but I wasn't a huge fan. I'm just not a big Jungle Book guy in the first place, so maybe it was true to the source, true to the Disney movie, original Disney movie, but I was like, I'm never gonna see this again. But it's interesting, and the CGI was definitely impressive. So the controversy for me comes in when this VFX guy, he takes some shots at Andy Serkis. Okay, Andy Serkis also came out with his own Jungle Book movie made with his own company, and his big thing was he wasn't going to make the Disney version of the story. He was going to make like the real version, which I still don't know what that means, but it was a little more violent of a story. There was, obviously blood and, bad stuff, and Khan was a little meaner, but it was interesting because they were both released very close together, so it was very weird to compare two artistic visions that are just completely opposites. And you could also compare casting because there were, some people had, Andy Serkis played Baloo in his, but Bill Murray played Baloo in the other Jungle Book movie. So it was like, who's the better Baloo? Probably Bill Murray, but it's a different creative vision. However, so this VFX guy, he comes in and he says Jon Favreau's is better because Andy Serkis's characters look weird. Why do they look weird? Because they have human eyes. And if you know Andy Serkis is into performance capture. He is the performance capture god, guru, wizard, whatever you want to call him. And so what performance capture does is, you put the dots on the people's faces and you're able to kind of put a CG model over top of the actor. So their performance kind of goes through the CG creation compared to just straight CG acting. And it's able to feel more real. You watch those Planet of the Apes movies, you watch Gollum and Lord of the Rings, you feel it looks better. You watch Avatar, like all those CG creations, they feel better, they feel more concrete than just a straight CG creation. Um, and so what Andy Serkis did was he was like, hey, I'm going to create these animals, but I'm going to give them human eyes, and basically the actor's eyes are going to be the ones that are on the animals. And I don't have any problem with it. It's an artistic vision. The reason why I consider this a controversy is I'm just like, why is an artistic person saying that his is better than the other when they're both just artistic decisions? Like, you can't. I find it very hard to judge an artistic decision because they're both. It's subjective. There's no objective creative decision. Um, you might like Jon Favreau's version better than Andy Serkis's, but that's just based on taste and it's not based on anything concrete. So I took it personal when people come for Andy Serkis because he's my man, and I actually liked his better, to be honest. I felt like the story was a little more interesting, and I liked the performances better. Of course, I like Bill Murray as Baloo better than Andy Serkis because Bill Murray is Bill Murray and everybody likes Bill Murray. But in Andy Serkis's version, I felt like the animals were a lot more personable. You could really relate with them better and feel the emotion better than in Jon Favreau's. And I feel like Jon Favreau's, they kind of were trying to go for a more photoreal animal approach, similar to what they did in The Lion King. And the problem with The Lion King was the animals had zero emotion, and it's hard for you to watch a whole movie with characters that show no emotion, even though there might be some inflection in the speech. But you know, it's neither here or there. People watched all of them. Well, actually, people probably watched Andy Serkis's the least, but they probably should have watched it more. The only reason why they didn't was because, Disney is Disney and they're a superpower. It's kind of like, why do people watch ants instead of why do people watch Bugs Life instead of ants? Well, it's because Pixar is Pixar, and Bugs Life is, how about this? Bugs Life is objectively better than ants. That's the one time where I'll be like, okay, artistic vision. Bugs Life in every way is better than ants. Ants sucks, and that's all I'll say about that. So I talked about my two trailers. The Andy Serkis controversy. Never take shots at Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is great. And the last thing I want to talk about is what I've been watching. And as always, this is a spoiler filled segment. But what I just finished watching just the other day was The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I watched it with my dad in the middle of the day because I don't watch horror movies at night. I feel like you have to watch them at night. But I realized when I was talking to Jasmine and her family, apparently they love horror movies. They watch, if I should probably have her on at some point because she's always the one who's like, "Oh, you ever seen this horror movie or that horror movie?" And be like, "No, why would I watch that?" But they watch it sometimes during the day because even they get scared of horror movies. And so that's just a weird thing for me. Why would you watch a horror movie if you know you're going to be scared? But maybe those are just the type of people that watch those movies. I don't know. I don't understand people who like horror movies. But they watch it during the day because it's easier for them to watch it. So we watched this one during the day, and I don't think I even needed that. This movie is not as scary as I thought it was because I watched Insidious. I had seen The Conjuring 2, both of them fairly scary. I watched them at night and I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night after I watched it. So I watched Conjuring 3 and I was like, oh, this one's going to scare my butt off. But it didn't. It was more of a true crime kind of feel to the movie, where they were just trying to figure out who the bad guy was, who was cursing other people, and how to stop the person from cursing those people. They even had a map, like in every true crime. They always have a map on the wall, and they put the pins in the map, and they're like trying to triangulate the position. They're like, okay, so we have these facts. This is where an incident happened. This is where it happened, and this is where it happened. Okay, where can we narrow down even more? Oh, we heard railroad tracks next to where it happened. Okay, well there's one here, and it goes up the mountain this way. Oh, it must be here. There's only one shack in this location in between these locations. Boom, we figured it out. That's like every true crime. So something like that happens. Um, but I think a super interesting thing about the Conjuring movies is I'm not super into paranormal investigations. I don't know a lot about all that stuff. However, these movies are based on real paranormal investigators, allegedly, I guess. And I don't really know where I stand on that stuff. Uh, but even at the end of this movie, they took some audio from an exorcism that the couple actually performed that was recreated in the movie, and I don't know, that stuff makes me feel weird because like I'm not saying that like, oh, you're tempting things by watching this kind of stuff. However, like it gives you like this dark feeling like deep in your bones when you hear something where they're like, oh yeah, this is based on real life, and they give you like that grainy audio kind of thing. There's never picture with the audio. It's always just audio, but it's like super just creepy and weird. And like that level, it's beyond just a jump scare. It's like it sticks with you, and it's just like that noise is rattling in your head, and you're like, ooh, that's nasty. And you're like, I never want to face that ever. And so like in my head when I watch these movies, I'm kind of like, yeah, I guess it could happen. However, if I'm like all in and I'm like, yeah, I could face that at any moment, then I'll be scared perpetually for the rest of my life. So in some way, I kind of have to like tell myself, okay, it maybe can happen, but it probably won't happen to you. And I'm gonna live the rest of my life hoping it never does. If I have to face that crap, especially stuff in this movie, oh, screw that. Like they have this like coven lady who's like inhabiting bodies and making people do things. Like they started off where this kid kills a guy and he stabs him like 27 times with a knife because she made him think that the guy he was stabbing was a demon trying to kill him. And we don't really know if he. I asked my dad, I was like, what if he hadn't stabbed the guy? Like, what if he had just taken it and said, oh, I know this is a dream. It's not going to hurt me. Well, they answer it later on in the movie. The demon would have just killed him. So it's a lose lose for this dude for no reason. Like, they figured out at the end that the coven lady, she just wanted souls for Satan or something. Like, she didn't have any reason to hate these people. She just did it to do it. And, ugh, terrible, terrible. But here's my under 20 word summary. Paranormal investigators try to stop a hex from killing people. I don't know if it's a hex. It's basically a hex, I guess. I don't know the terminology for this stuff. Uh, but there's a couple jump scares, I think. There's a couple funny jump scares too. Like there's this one zombie guy in a morgue, and one of the main characters, he has to save his wife from it because she's kind of like in a trance, and so he has to run to her and grab her before the zombie guy runs at them. But he's like this huge dude, and he's just sort of like sitting there twitching, and then he lets out this like god awful scream and then runs at them like in this lumbering walk, and he runs over, grabs her, and pulls her free, and then the zombie just collapses on the ground. And I'm like, whoa. So that's more funny, I guess. Scary jump scare. Was there anything scary for a jump scare. There was one, I think, where just a rat is running, and I guess that's scary. Okay, all right. Here, I guess here's one that's like semi scary, where um, there's this retired priest, and he takes the wife down into the basement, the main character's wife down in the basement. I don't remember any of these characters' names because whatever, it is what it is. And he takes her into the basement because, of course, he's like, oh, I gotta show you something. And he takes her into the basement. And he's got all these. It's like a messy, creepy, where like he's got all these cult objects and books and writings and stuff in this big basement, and he's like, "Oh, I'll show you this picture book, and this will solve everything." And she looks at it, and it's revealed that the cult lady who's cursing everybody is actually his daughter. And I was like, "Oh, he's gonna kill her or something." But no, he actually regrets that his daughter is the bad person, so he's like, "I'll help you." And he sends her on her way, and then his daughter appears, and I'm like, "Oh, how's this gonna go?" And she out of nowhere just freaking Nightcrawler teleports behind him, slits his throat in like 2 seconds before he can even say his thing. And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You didn't kill your dad like that." But yeah. If you're going to this movie because you're like, oh, I want to get scared or anything, I wouldn't watch this movie. Um, but if you like those true crime kind of things with a little bit of the supernatural, I'd watch this movie. I will say my favorite quote from this movie. It's in the trailer. It's so good. It like every time I hear it, I'm like, that's a good quote. It's when uh so the paranormal investigators, they're hired to kind of help prove the innocence of this kid who stabbed the guy. And they're basically like, oh, he's possessed, he can't control his actions. And his attorney is like, you can't expect me to believe that because possessions, they're not real. Like, this isn't a real excuse that you can use in the court of law. And he's like, the court of law accepts the existence of God every time you take a vow, or something like that. Where um, they swear to say nothing but the truth, so help them God, and all that stuff. He's like, I think it's about time that we accept the existence of the devil as well. And I'm like, ooh, he's got a point. He's got a point. Like, you can't say yeah, he doesn't have a point. There's a point there somewhere. Um, but yeah, I didn't mind the movie. It's definitely not a family movie, obviously. My mom isn't going to watch it ever. I probably won't watch it again, but it was on HBO Max. Again, I love HBO Max. I probably wouldn't have watched it any other way, so I got some fun out of it. And yeah, so that's all I really wanted to say about The Conjuring 3. I just knew that, it just came out. Some people might be interested in it. Go check it out if you like the true crime stuff. If you want to be scared, I wouldn't watch it. I remember when I had an internship, uh, I was in drug court, and this guy came in, and the judge was like, "What you been up to?" And the guy was like, "Well, I watched this movie, Us, the Jordan Peele movie." And he was like, "Oh, I went in, and everybody said, oh, it's scary, it's scary. Let me just tell you this, Judge, that movie was not scary. Easy. I didn't cry, I didn't hide, I watched the whole thing, no problem." And the judge is like, "Oh, okay." And everybody's like laughing in the back. And it's about the same level. Like, there's some creepy elements in The Conjuring 3, but it's nowhere near the level of like scream out loud. Like, this is gonna give you nightmares. I watched it, went to bed, no problem. And yeah, so that's all I really got. I guess the last thing I'll mention is the Loki TV show will be out on Disney Plus. Definitely by the time this episode is released. I hope to talk about that one. I might actually have an episode when this Loki TV show is finally done, where I talk about all three of them: the Captain, what's it called? The Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, the WandaVision show, and the Loki TV show. I am actually really interested in the Loki TV show because it seems to be a lot about like time travel, kind of like a heist, and Loki is a very great character. My dad loves him. We actually came really close to him. Loki actually, Tom Hiddleston, sorry, actually exchanged a few words with my dad when we were at the red carpet event for the Kong Skull Island movie. And so that was a really fun experience. So I think I'm going to continue this format going forward. It's allows me to be more current with events and a little more, you know, and pump out some content more easily. So I hope you like the new layout, the new apartment. It's pretty great out here. I hope you like my plant. Again, give me some comments, some thumbs up for the plants over here. It's a great plant. Also, what do you think about the lighting here? Are we good with the lighting? I'm not using any lamps or anything. I'm just using the sun. I don't know if that's a good bet. You tell me. Let me hear it. So that's all I got for this episode, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Go check me out on Instagram and Facebook, Film.Talks Official. I post quite a few times during the week, and on Saturdays, I finally post the episodes now on YouTube and on Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, all the big streaming things. So check me out there. Give me a listen. Tell me what you think. Give me some reviews. Tell me on my socials. Give me some things you'd like me to review, even or talk about. Any topics, all that. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you have a great week. So long.